First contact with Joshua Polk.
Hello, Earthlings. Welcome back to First Contact Radio. It is the middle of the week, Wednesday, the 18th of October, 2017 on the Jewish calendar. Today is the 28th day of Tishri, just about the end of one month, the first of the months of the Jewish calendar. It's actually the seventh month, but it's the beginning of the year, so it was the holiest day and holiest month of the year, and we are moving out of that in just a couple of days. Where we are right now is right here. We have our sun sign in Libra and our moon sign also in Libra. So a double Libra day. Double Libra, what that is all about right here. We've got the element of air. Every day we go into the world. Every day we encounter the elements: fire, water, air, and earth. We can look at these elements as simply random things that occur in our lives with no connection to anything, or we can understand that there is a connection to everything and look to read the subtle signs of life. And that's what reading the energies are about. That's what the tarot and the astrology and the Kabbalistic studies are about. It's about learning how to read the energies on a subtle level. And those who don't understand how to read energies, they think of this as some sort of bad thing, a superstitious thing that's going to create harm. And though there are people who have used some of these tools in ways that have been a bit dark, for the most part, these tools are intended to help an individual understand what is going on around him, because they're simply symbols to represent the various energies we're dealing with: fire, water, air, and earth. And so what we have every day when we go into the world is we have a bubble of energy that we live within, the energy that goes from the ground, the earth here, all the way up to the firmament, whatever this boundary is from the top. We have this bubble of energy and we're walking in it. So we need to be aware of what we're dealing with. And these astrologies, they really seem to have some significance in indicating where we are if we seem to just to follow along, like it's telling a story. Okay, so right now we're dealing with a conscious mind, the sun sign, which is in air, which is in Libra, about balancing things out. We can look at this time and we could see how there is a balancing out taking place during this period of time in life. And as things change, if you just pay attention to the various signs, you might see some synchronicities that get you to think that there's something more going on and that we could learn something deeper if we look into the understanding of these energies. So what we have here is air, and we have the scales of balance. Okay, the tarot card is called Justice. It represents karmic balance, where all the scales are evened out, where karma has gone out and created its balancing karma so that everything is equal, everything is even. And in order to do that, the process of air is utilized. Air is when we take an idea and we are expressing that idea into the world. We express it through words or through actions. And so we're expressing our ideas into the world with air. Now, when we express ideas, there's a lot of different reactions that people have to them. And if we express them in a very boastful way, a very strong way, people might think we're being prideful, boastful. If we refuse to express them, then people think we're being too humble or quiet or shy. We have to find that balance, and we have to learn when we express our energies with our words or actions, not only do we have to make sure we're doing things that are going to help us, but we also have to make sure we're not saying or doing the things that are going to hurt us, because they're equally important. So today we have a double Libra day, a lot of air blowing around, a lot of opportunity for us to look at what it is we need to balance. And with so much going on in the world, with so much going on here in America, we have a lot of things to balance, a lot of justice to be had. So that's where we're at. That's what we need to consider. Now, the reason this is very important, as I say, is we move through these energies each and every day. And if we don't understand how these energies affect us, then we might miss the point of other people pushing those buttons. because there are many who understand how the energies work and how our buttons get pushed. And so we get pushed around every day, or attempted to push around every day, by places like the media. The media knows how to push your emotional buttons, so they push the emotional buttons every day, and we get caught up in these stories. Some stories are more important than others, but nonetheless, they're all just stories. And what we need to do is find a way to step back, look at a bigger picture of what's going on. If we, look here, we have Sagittarius, which is all about truthfulness. Okay, it's the archer. It's the one who brings that sense of higher self truthfulness. It's higher education and learning. And what we have here is Saturn. So Saturn is the disciplinarian, and we really need to discipline throughout this time that we're in. And this is a slow moving planetary phase. So we've got to work on our discipline. And we have to be aware, as Pluto is showing us, that there's some transformation that's taking place. And here, this Capricorn tarot card of the devil tells us there could be some illusions as we're going through the transformative phases we're going through. We still have Aries over here and Uranus, unexpected changes along the way as we are finding more of ourselves. And of course, over here in Pisces, which is all about the emotional paths that we can take, we have Neptune, which is telling us take a new perspective of our emotions. There's something more going on, and that's the case in the world today. There's something more going on, and people are seeing that something is taking place. So the bigger stories right now that we're dealing with have to do with collusion between the Russians and our governments. For a long time, we've heard Russia, Russia, Russia as the battle cry coming from the Democratic Party. Russia, Russia, Russia. Russia needs to be investigated. Well, the Russia investigation has been going on. And throughout this time, there has been collusion that has been uncovered. But each and every time collusion has been discovered, it's been collusion with the Democratic Party, with somebody in that party, Hillary Clinton, John Podesta, a couple other characters, Loretta Lynch. So it's not what they're trying to make it out to be. Here is a story that hit the other day. Russian nuclear firm under FBI investigation was allowed to purchase U.S. uranium supply. Okay, 15 months before the 13 members of the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, known as CFI-US, CIFUS, approved the sale of the Canadian company Uranium One to Russia's nuclear arm giant Rosatom, the FBI began investigating persons who were connected to the Russian state corporation. The FBI said in court documents and in interviews conducted by Circa that by 2010 they had gathered enough evidence to prove that Rosatom connected officials were engaged in a global bribery schedule that included kickbacks and money laundering. FBI officials said the investigation could have prevented the sale of Uranium One, who controlled 20% of the U.S. uranium supply under U.S. law. The deal, which required approval by CIFUS, an interagency committee who reviews transactions that leads to a change of control of U.S. business to a foreign person or entity that may have an impact on national security of the United States. At the time of the Uranium One deal, the panel was chaired by then Secretary Timothy Geithner, included then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and then Attorney General Eric Holder. By the time the CFIUS approved the sale of Uranium One to Rosatom, the FBI's investigation included substantial evidence against a Russian national, Vadim Mikirin, who was then a top official with Rosatom's 10X subsidiary, according to court documents. The FBI said while at 10X, which was located in Maryland, Mirkin was involved in multiple bribery and kickback schemes. In an affidavit, FBI officials said Mirkin, with the consent of high-level officials at 10X and Rosatom, both Russian state-owned entities, would offer no-bid contracts to U.S. businesses in exchange for kickbacks in the form of money made to offshore accounts, according to a 2015 affidavit in support of a search warrant. Mikirin pled guilty to the allegations. the affidavit in support of the application under Rule 41 for a warrant to search. Okay, so all this while we've been told of Russian collusion, yet the very people who were pointing the fingers were the very ones involved with the collusion. We have some more stories. This one is over at the Hill. Same topic. FBI uncovered Russian bribery before Obama administration approved controversial having a little problem here reading this. Anyway, we'll scroll down here. Before the Obama administration approved the controversial deal in 2010 giving Moscow control of a large swath of American uranium, the FBI had gathered substantial evidence that Russian nuclear industry officials were engaged in bribery, kickbacks, extortion, and money laundering designed to grow Vladimir Putin's atomic energy business inside the United States, according to government documents and interviews. Federal agents used a confidential U.S. witness working inside the Russian nuclear industry to gather extensive financial records, make secret recordings, and intercept emails as early as 2009 that showed Moscow had compromised an American uranium trucking firm with bribes and kickbacks in violation of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, FBI and court documents show. They also obtained an eyewitness account backed by documents indicating Russian nuclear officials had routed billions of dollars to the U.S. designed to benefit former President Bill Clinton's charitable foundation during the time Secretary of State Hillary Clinton served on a government body that provided a favorable decision to Moscow, sources told The Hill. The racketeering scheme was conducted with the consent of high-level officials in Russia who shared the proceeds from the kickbacks, the agent declared in an affidavit years later. Rather than bring immediate charges in 2010, however, the Department of Justice continued investigating the matter for nearly 4 more years, essentially leaving the American public and Congress in the dark about Russia's nuclear corruption on U.S. soil during a period when Obama administration made 2 major decisions benefiting Putin's commercial nuclear ambitions. The first decision occurred in October 2010 when the State Department and government agencies and the Committees on Foreign Investment in the United States unanimously approved the partial sale of Canadian mining company Uranium One to the Russian nuclear giant Rosatom, giving Moscow control of more than 20% of America's uranium supply. When this sale was used by Trump on the campaign trail last year, Hillary Clinton's spokesman said she was not involved in the committee review and noted the State Department official who handled it said she never intervened on any committees on foreign investment in the United States matter. In 2011, the administration gave approval for Rosatom's Tenex subsidiary to sell commercial uranium to U.S. nuclear power plants in a partnership with the United States Enrichment Corporation. Before then, Tenex had been limited to selling U.S. nuclear power plants, reprocessed uranium recovered from the dismantled Soviet nuclear weapons under the 1990s megatons to megawatts peace program. To what Russians were compromising American contractors in the nuclear industry with kickbacks and extortion threats, all of which raised legitimate national security concerns, and none of that evidence got aired before Obama administration made those decisions. A person who worked on the case told The Hill, speaking on condition of anonymity for fear of retribution by U.S. or Russian officials. The Obama administration's decision to approve Rosatom's purchase of Uranium One has since been a source of political controversy since 2015. That's when conservative author Peter Schweitzer and the New York Times documented how Bill Clinton collected hundreds of thousands of dollars in Russian speaking fees, and his charitable foundation collected millions in donations from parties interested in the deal, while Hillary Clinton presided on a committee on foreign investment in the United States. The Obama administration and the Clintons defended their actions at that time, insisting there was no evidence of any Russian or donors engaged in wrongdoing, and there was no national security reason for any member of the committee to oppose the Uranium One deal. But FBI, Energy Department, and court documents reviewed by The Hill show the FBI in fact had gathered substantial evidence well before the committee's decision that Vadim Mikorin, the main Russian overseeing Putin's nuclear expansion inside the United States, was engaged in wrongdoing starting in 2009. Then Attorney General Eric Holder was among the Obama administration officials joining Hillary Clinton on the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States at the time the Iranian deal was approved. Multiple current and former government officials told The Hill they did not know whether the FBI or DOJ ever alerted committee members on the criminal activity they uncovered. Okay, spokesperson for Holder and Clinton did not return calls seeking comment. The Justice Department also did not comment. Okay, I want to scroll down a little bit. There's a lot more to this article. You get the point of where we're going. What I want to do is I want to bring up, here is a section in the article we're looking for here. This line, the investigation was ultimately supervised. Okay, and we're almost there. There we go. The investigation was ultimately supervised by then U.S. Attorney Rod Rosenstein, an Obama appointee who now serves as the President Trump's Deputy Attorney General, and then Assistant FBI Director Andrew McCabe, now the FBI Director under Trump, Justice Department documents show. Both men now play a key role in the current investigation into possible but still unproven collusion between Russia and Donald Trump's campaign during the 2016 election cycle. McCabe is under Congressional and Justice Department Inspector General investigation in connection with the money his wife's state Senate campaign accepted in 2015 from now Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, when a time when McAuliffe was reportedly under investigation by the FBI. The connections to the current Russia case are many. The McCarran probe began in 2009 when Robert Mueller and the special counsel in charge of the Trump case was still FBI director. It ended in late 2015 under the direction of then FBI Director James Comey, who Trump fired earlier in the year. So we've got the same cast of characters, Rosenstein, McCabe, we've got Mueller, and we've got Comey. So basically what we've got is a situation where they were involved with the collusion, they were involved with the corruption, and the very agents who were involved with the corrupt deal are now trying to pin it all on Trump. But he knows what's going on, and so the whole thing is having challenges. All right, here's another article on it. I'm going to leave to you. It turns out the Obama administration knew the Russians were engaged in bribery, kickbacks, and extortion in order to gain control of U.S. atomic resources. Yet still okayed the 2010 deal to give Moscow control of 1/5 of the American uranium. Okay, so Obama knew, he's complicit, part of the whole thing. Now we're jumping over to some more of the Russia story. Here's an article. The firm behind the anti-Trump dossier won't comply with the subpoena. Well, of course not, because we all know it was made up. The firm behind the unverified dossier linking President Trump's campaign to Russia is refusing to testify before the House Judiciary Committee. On Monday, an attorney for Fusion GPS told the three founders would not comply with the congressional subpoena, argued that it would have a chilling effect on future campaigns trying to conduct confidential opposition research. The lawyer also said Intel Chair Devin Nunes recused himself from the Russia investigation and could not issue the subpoena. If the founders are forced to testify before Congress, they plan to plead the fifth. Of course they do. Of course they do, because they were caught in a lie, and if they continue on with this lie, well, then they've got a real problem. All right, we have an investigation here. Senator Grassley has launched an investigation into the Uranium One scandal. It began last week. Senator Chuck Grassley, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, has been investigating the Uranium One scandal for months. He's expected to ask Attorney General Jeff Sessions about the Russian Uranium One scandal in Wednesday's hearing. That would be today. It was reported earlier today the FBI uncovered Russian bribery of the Clintons in 2009, and the Department of Justice and the FBI sat on this for 4 more years. So more for you to dig into about the story. You'll hear about it all day today, I'm sure, if you have various ways of checking out the Twitter feeds and so on. You're not going to hear it in the mainstream news. You might catch it on some places. Okay, switching gears to Las Vegas. Jesus Campos, who was missing. He was missing. No one knew where he was. But then Laura Loomer went out by his house and was told they weren't allowed to talk to anybody about this. And then you had the undercover federal agent who was on the front lawn protecting the people in the house. And then the story how this man, Jesus, just disappeared. Well, apparently he emerged and he was on the Ellen show. So this is a picture of Jesus, and this is the man that they're saying is Jesus. Is this the same man, or is this somebody who looks very similar to him? That will be the question that people are digging into, and I know that people are looking into it. At first glance, they look similar, but they aren't the same person. There's a bit difference in there, but maybe I'm wrong. People are looking into it. Check it out yourself, see what you think. George Soros is up to no good again. This time he's putting more money into his foundations, perhaps a signal that there is something going on that we need to be more aware of. Soros transfers $18 billion to his Open Society foundations. Left-wing financier George Soros has transferred $18 billion to the Open Society foundations, the network of nonprofits Soros uses to advance his left-wing ideology both in the United States and around the world. This massive transfer was reported by the Wall Street Journal, and we're not seeing it. All right, so as we know, George Soros has been doing a lot of funding of oppositions to this particular administration, and not only this particular administration, but administrations and governments around the world. The other day I posted a video of George Soros going back to 1998, where he is discussing what he did and how he goes about making money. And basically he sets countries at odds with each other. He doesn't care what really happens. He doesn't care if people get injured, if people get killed. All he cares about is making money. And he's been doing this ever since he was in Nazi Germany working with the Nazis. So it's quite ironic that you have so many members of the left, so many members of the Democratic Party who seem to be okay with George Soros, yet they want to claim that everyone on the Trump train is a Nazi, but George Soros actually worked with the Nazis. I guess he worked with them so closely he could almost be considered a Nazi by default. And yet the Democrats think he is really awesome, which is kind of weird. Okay, yesterday I read to you the information about JFK's files being released by October 26th, and one of the statements in there was that they would be released unless, of course, there was some reason the president decided that they shouldn't be released. Well, just like clockwork, here's an article. CIA urges Trump to delay the release of 3,000 never-before-seen documents of the JFK assassination. Well, it looks like I am having a few challenges here with this, so let me get this situated. But basically, the bottom line is, as would be expected, the agency does not want these files to get out because the agency themselves are one of those accused of involved with the murder of John F. Kennedy. If that is the case, then no wonder they don't want this information to get out, because it really makes things look really bad for them. Okay, I'm not really seeing this file come back up. All right, so the link's available. You can check it out, but it's being difficult for some particular reason, and we'll just leave it at that. Another story here is a story about the human traffickers in Florida that were captured. Another very good thing for society. We don't need these human traffickers. We don't need them in our society at all. It's good to see them being captured and brought to justice for their bad behavior. Definitely indeed. So that is really significant. The most important thing that I think we need to look at in life is understand that there's some really important changes taking place right now. We can either turn a blind eye to them, pretend that they're really not occurring, or we could pay attention because there's a deeper story that is unfolding. We could get caught up in all of the little bitty stories that are happening out in the world, but all we're going to do is be caught up in a little piece of a puzzle. And that's okay, because maybe we're at that point where that's the understandings we need to have. Maybe that's what some people are only able here to understand. But I think there are many here who want to dig deeper, and I think we're at a point in time in society where there is a real effort to dig deeper, to find out a little bit more about what is truly going on. So we're seeing right now truth being uncovered. We're seeing the crimes that have been discussed for so long by an administration are being brought to light. You know, we got 8 years where we had an administration which really was not very patriotic. Okay, nobody's going to argue and say that the Obama administration was a patriotic organization, because it wasn't. It was an apology tour that apologized for who we are and what we're about, and there was a lot of talk about victimhood, and it really wasn't a very uplifting kind of experience for some reason. And now we have an opportunity to change that. But I know that for 8 years or longer, people have lived with this belief that whatever we did, we didn't do it. Somebody else was responsible for it. Imagine if you're a child and you grew up during the last 8, 9 years. You don't know of anything in the world where there was a true greatness because you didn't see that experience. If you were in high school and you went through your high school and even into your college years, as many did during the Obama administration, the view on the world is different than it was prior to that, prior than it was in the 90s. So a lot of times we have these young kids these days who keep saying that they don't understand why people keep saying the world, America, make America great again, because America was never great. And there are those who truly believe that's the case because they themselves have not experienced that greatness. And at first, it's easy to get frustrated and say, what do you mean America was never great? But then when you stop and you realize their age, you realize that they've not ever seen the greatness. They've not experienced what we can be as a country because we've been beaten down for so long and conditioned to believe that we should be beaten down. The last 4 years or the last 8 years, the presidency and the administration did not encourage people to go out and stand up as an American citizen, but rather discouraged people from taking ownership of even their own creations. And so we now are working to get out of this state of victimhood. But it's a real challenge because there's a lot of people that bought into it. People of all different races. It's not just an issue between one race or the other. That's the illusion that they're trying to paint. We are all going through these same problems together, so we all need to find a solution. The problems that we're facing in our societies that come within each one of our races don't happen from the entire race, but from a small portion within that race, 10, 15, 20%. That means the majority of the races, each one out there, 80% of them are good people that want to have good things going on. The good people just need to stand up. Bad things happen when good people say and do nothing, and the majority of the people here in America and in the world are good people. So we just need to remember that. So as we go in the world today, let's just take some time to consider the goodness that each and every one of us has to offer into the world. Let's see a way, if we can find a way to find the goodness and find our common good that we can use as a stepping stone to bring more of that into our lives and step away from that victimhood attitude. Because we really have an opportunity, my friends. This is a mission statement. Make America great again, and each one of us plays a part in that. We play a part in making this great. So let's go out and do that. and make it simple. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Till then, I love you. Keep loving each other. Talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.